Hey Flosstube, it's Kim, aka Spartan Stitcher on Instagram, here today on the 1st of January 2026 to film my end of 2025 WIP parade. So we are going to talk about everything that I accomplished in 2025, my goals for 2026, all the good things. I have been prepping for this for days just because one thing about me, if you haven't been watching my channel, and I already have Flosstube itchy nose, I really love the numbers. I'm a progress stitcher. I like seeing measurable progress every single year, month, day, whatever. So I really like the numbers. Hopefully you will keep watching if you like the numbers too. I like setting attainable goals that still make you stretch. So I actually have a video that I made several years ago about goals. I will link that below as well. A little bit about me for those that are new to the channel. I am a U.S. Air Force veteran. I served for 7.5 years, and then I was a dependent spouse. You know, my husband at the time was active duty that entire time as well. And so I pretty much was a stay-at-home mom for almost 11 years, supporting his aircrew career. Once he went from aircraft maintenance, because I was aircraft maintenance, we both were, and he switched to B-52 aircrew, so we supported him. That ended, and then the girls and I've got two daughters, 13 and 10. We moved back here to Michigan, moved in with my parents for a couple of years, and now have been in this house for 2.5 years now. I do have several animals. I told my oldest daughter a few minutes ago, I said, I am not going to be playing Let the Cat on the Other Side of the Door game during this WIP parade. So she went down in the basement. The cats love it in the basement, but we don't always let them down there. So I said, go down there, do something quietly, at least so the cats are happy while I'm making the video. So we have 2 cats. I have a Amazon parrot named Hopper, and also a quarter horse, Spencer, that has been with me since 2004. So normal videos talk about animal antics a bit, but nothing on them today. So as I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of numbers. I do not edit my videos, so I will be showing you mock-ups and pictures on my tablet. Instead, I also have visual aids because I process numbers better when I can see them, so I'm here to support my fellow visual learners. This is a monetized channel just because I am a single mom with 2 girls, so monetizing it does help me a little bit. So appreciate you dealing with that. I am the admin of Full Coverage Fanatics, so most of my WIPs are full coverage, although I do have non-full coverage that I work on. I try to work on some at least a little every month, and I have some non-full coverage finishes as well. So before we get into 2025 overall numbers, we're going to talk December numbers first. So in the month of December, I stitched every single day. I have stitched every single day now for 2 years straight. So I got a streak going on. Total number of stitches for December, 33,092. When you break that up into full coverage tent stitching, that makes it 31,369 full coverage stitches. Non-full coverage, I worked on 2 pieces for 1,723 stitches. Lowest stitchy day had 502 stitches. Highest stitchy day in December, 1,772. There was 21 days in the month that I had at least 1,000 stitches or more. I had 6 page finishes in the month of December and 2 new starts. So you will see all of those, of course, because this is a WIP parade. Now, let's talk 2025 numbers. So we're just my first visual aid. We're low tech here. We're easy. So full coverage for the year. All my full coverage are tent stitches. 340,529. Non-full coverage, 40,695 stitches, for a total for the year 381,224. So that is over 16,000 stitches more than 1,000 stitches per day. So I'm very happy with that. And I had 226 days out of the 365 that were over 1,000 stitches. Also, so in 2024, I primarily worked on 2 WIPs a day. Here in I say here, I can't get my mind, it's 2026 now. In 2025, I primarily tried to work on 3 WIPs a day, depending on what each day, you know, if I was going to the barn, sometimes I didn't make 3 WIPs, or, you know, if I had a headache or whatever. So I kept track too, because I was curious how many WIPs I worked on for how many days. So there were some days where I tried to work on 4 WIPs. That was too many. I didn't like that. So 19 days out of the year that I worked on 4 WIPs. 3 WIPs, as I said, that was the majority of my year, 249. 2 WIPs, 82 days that I worked on just 2 WIPs. And out of the whole year, only 15 days that I only worked on 1 WIP. So, and as I said, I've stitched every day for 2 years now. As I told you, I do like my numbers. I have been using my own Excel sheet for quite a few years, probably like 2017. But this is the first year that I started using the cross stitch tracker by RainbowSheetsStudio. I will link that below as well, along with a couple of reviews from Ebony and Jen, the Caffeinated Crafter. Some reviews for that tracker that they put up in 2024. So I highly recommend it. The numbers and showing the progress in different ways helps to motivate me to get more done. I know a lot of people don't want to really push themselves in their hobby. This is their way to relax. But in my entire life, it's all been about numbers and progress. So first you have, you know, grades in school. And then I was, you know, an Air Force officer where we're always talking, it was metrics then and not stats, but Air Force metrics, you're talking about your mission capable rate, you know, flying hours, everything was metrics in the Air Force. And then it's just bled over, you know, in my current job with truck maintenance, we're always looking at the numbers there as well. So it's me. I like the numbers. Hopefully you do too. So with the numbers comes long-term planning. For probably, I'd say since about 2017 to 2018, I have always had at least one full coverage finish each year. And so part of making reachable, attainable goals is breaking it down into smaller bits so you know that you can making the smaller goals to meet your bigger goal. So I have an Excel sheet where I'm, you know, playing around with numbers for stitches remaining on my WIPs, and to figure out which pieces I can finish what year and how many stitches I need to do each year to get there. This makes me happy again. So the long-term plan for my WIPs, I use acronyms. I was in the Air Force, so these are acronyms for my WIPs. So for 2026, I'm going to be finishing Story Keep What Lies Within, and you'll see all these, but I've got Half-Blood Prince, Kindred Spirits, Odin, Ready for an Adventure, Professor McGonagall, Midnight Munchies, Pumpkin, and then as I was prepping everything for my you know, end of year numbers and WIP parade, I already have some ideas for 2034 and 2035. We shall see. I don't want to put it out there into the universe yet. But yes, so I'm already looking, you know, I've got 8 years, we're looking possibly 10 years out on those. So it's been 9 minutes. Let's actually show some WIPs. And if you are interested in full coverage fanatics, I do have a separate video on the events in 2026 for full coverage fanatics. I will link that video below as well. I'm not going to be talking extensively about those events in this video. This is all about my WIPs. Okay, I have lots of notes down here, so I will be looking down, but hopefully you're looking up and stitching and looking at the WIPs. So everything will be in a chronological order. Oldest WIP, oldest full coverage, is Kindred Spirits by Jody Bergsma. This is 2025 was the second year where I had 2 focus WIPs that I worked on every day. But so the first focus WIP I'd work on daily for the first 2 weeks of the month. The second focus WIP I'd work on the second 2 weeks of the month. And that way you can still focus and get some good progress on them without getting burnout, because you're still taking turns and working on something else. So Kindred Spirits, starting in 2025, the plan was, let's do, over 40,000 stitches on it for the next 4 years to get it done for a 2028 finish. I got my visual aid for this one too. So this was a Mania start in 2017. 2017 for me was the year of full coverage. I started 10 full coverage pieces in 2017. And the next piece I show you, now that that's done, Kindred Spirits is now the only piece left out of those 10 that is still going. Plus, out of those 10, or it's however many years old now, in 2018 and 2023, I didn't put any work into Kindred Spirits. So even though it's 8 years old now, 2 of those years I never worked on it. So for the year, I put in 43,000 stitches. I worked on it 127 days. That equals 338 stitches per day average. I was thinking, based on 43,000 stitches, that it would be about 6 pages, but the way that I stitched it, it only came up to 3 pages. And my goal for the next 3 years is 45,000 stitches to get it done for 2028. It started the year at 33.9% and is now at 49.8%. Now you're like, just show us. Well, here's the other thing. I was going to show you where I started the year. That is where I started the year. You can see I was doing diagonal pages, and I still had 1 page left in the top row. So I did that first, and then I did these 2 pages. So those are the 3 pages I got done. And then I started working across this whole row. This is 25 count, easy count. And there she is. That's where I'm at, starting at 2026. So the first 2 rows are completely done. And then, let me get this. This is the row I'll be working on to start the second 2 weeks in January. So I'll get some page finishes pretty quickly there. I believe there's 3 pages in work there, and then we'll go down. So if I continue to work this row across all those pages, 3 page finishes might be all I get in 2026, because I'll be working all those pages at once. So we'll see. We'll see what I do, but at least I'll get those pages done. So that is Kindred Spirits by Jody Bergsma. Next was my full coverage finish for the year. Sunday Delight was a 7 December 2017 start. I finished it in October 12th, 2025. I put in 29,414 stitches over 49 days. That equals about 600 stitches per day, and I got those 4 pages done. So I started this one on the bottom partial row of pages, and then I did the partial row of pages up on the right side, and then filled it in from there. So actually, where I started the year, I had the first 4 pages of the piece remaining. So that's all I did. I didn't, because it was only 4 pages, I just did 1 page a quarter on this one. So it wasn't something that I had to, put a lot of time in to get that done. And I've got it still on hangers right now. This is 25 count Lugana ungridded, so I have not washed this yet. There's the whole thing. Designed by Randall Spengler. Really fun, colorful piece to stitch. So we'll bring it in a little closer. So those last 4 pages were what I did this year. And then there's the bottom. The most used color in this design is actually Krynic. I never use Krynic because, so, you know, it would have made sense to have Krynic like in the ice cream, but it was also in the tub of ice cream, it was in the bowls, and of course in the table. And so when I started the piece at the bottom, I'm like, I'm not going to have a sparkly table, so I just used DMC Blanc white. And then I just continued using it throughout the piece. So there is not any Krynic in here at all. It's all just DMC white. So that is, I think I told you it's 25 count, but I usually stitch 2/1 cottonelle 10 stitch. So you can see it's got some body to it. It's pretty thick. Yeah, 2/1 10 stitch. Okay, my third oldest piece is a favorite. Here's the design. Trick or Treat by Randall Spengler. I started this one 18 October 2018, and I started it extreme cross country doing all the black first, and then I started filling in the pages from the bottom. This year I put in 18,349 stitches over 31 days, which is 592 stitches per day average. My goal was 3 pages. I did get that met. My goal for 2026 is 25,000 stitches going back to extreme cross country. This piece has such high confetti. It's not enjoyable to fill in the page by page. I had a whole lot more fun doing the extreme cross country than filling in page by page. So I will be going back to that, starting with the most used color. I didn't talk percentages. Started the year at 26.4%. It is now at 29.7%. And you get to see the whole thing because, as I said, all the black is done. That was like 69,000 stitches. So again, 25 count 2/1 cottonelle 10 stitch. This one gets really hard to show. Ugh. There's the bottom. So you can see that doing extreme cross country, I'm going to be starting with the dark browns and grays after the black. So it's all going to fill in that house and the trees more. I've talked in other Flosstubes where if you're considering trying extreme cross country, it's very dependent on your design of the piece and if the color flows well, so you don't have to count over long areas. So let me get back here on my stool. So I did these 3 pages this year in 2025. So there is a close-up. If you want to see the top of this design, go check out Nikki Crafts. I will try to remember to link her in the description. She hasn't made a video in a while, but she got a bunch of progress. Like, she's a couple of rows in on the house. So if you want to see the top of it, go check out her videos. So we'll aim for 25,000 stitches extreme cross country on this one for 2026. I am very excited to get back to it now. Okay, 4th WIP. pull up. I don't have a hard copy of this one. It is Big Red Ship of Life by Ink Circles. Okay, I started this piece on the 11th of December 2018. Now, the story on this piece, when we were in the Air Force, of course, we were moving every few years. I inadvertently started and finished Red Velvet Cake by Glendon Place with, I'm going to sneeze, hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So when we were in Nebraska, I didn't mean to, but I had started and finished Red Velvet Cake by Glendon Place. I started it shortly after we got there, and I finished right before we moved again. So I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Now I have a piece that I can look at and say, I stitched that whole thing while I was in Nebraska. So when we moved to North Dakota, I wanted to do the same thing. And so I picked out Big Red Ship of Life because I knew we were going to be there about 4 years. The piece is 16 pages, so I knew if I did a page a quarter, I would get it, should easily represent our time in North Dakota. So I was keeping real on track with that. I was like 3.5 years into it. And then stuff happened. My girls and I packed ourselves and the animals up and moved back to Michigan. They watch my videos, by the way. So, Big Red Ship of Life. So after that happened, it was a UFO in 2022 and 2023. Didn't touch it at all. Couldn't work on it. I picked it back up in 2024 and did a few hundred stitches on it and decided, hey, I want to try to put more progress into this. And so in 2025, I'm like, we're going to shoot for 10,000 stitches. No way. Didn't happen. So I put in 4,529 stitches. I got one page done over 30 days because I was doing a little bit every day. So about 151 stitches per day. It went from 61.9% done to 69.27% done. I'm going to shoot for the same thing again here in 2026, another 4,500 stitches. So this is the only goal that I did not meet in 2025, and does not break my heart. Doesn't upset me at all. It was kind of a, hey, let's try this, because I still like the piece. It's just there's feelings involved in it that make it hard to work on. So here's where I started 2025, and pretty much you can see right here, that's a horse's head. So this is the page that I did, and I will show you the piece. This is 28 count tea-dyed Monaco. Is it Monaco? I know it's MCG. No, yeah, MCG Textiles. Might be Mushroom. I know it's MCG Textiles. You can't get it anymore. 28 count. I'm stitching it 1/1 using DMC 3808. So there is the full piece. So what I did is I finished this page, and then I brought down the border here and pretty much worked in my part threads. So that's all I did in 2025. So hopefully here in 2026 I can at least finish this page. And then there's only one row of pages remaining. I know it will fit, barely. I started this piece somehow, the wrong orientation, so I've got a lot of extra fabric on the side and barely enough fabric at the bottom, but it will fit. So my little marker's down here where it should end. I'm going to sew some extra fabric down here so I can get on the Q-snap when I get down there. So hopefully I can at least get that page done here in 2026. So that is Big Red Ship of Life. Okay. Then it comes my largest in terms of actual size, not by stitch count, but size. Super size, color expansion, Museum Shelf by Amy Stewart. This one I have cropped out the outer gold frame, so my percentage is a little skewed because I've marked that complete on Pattern Keeper. This is where I started the year. So I was just finished the dino section and was getting into the staircase. Let's see. This was a birthday start in 2029 when I was 38 years old. This was one piece I worked on here in December, so I do have progress you haven't seen before. I put 27,152 tent stitches into it over 47 days, which is 578 per day average. My goal for the year was only 3 pages. I got 4 pages done. So my goal for this 2026 is 4 more pages. Again, these percentages are with that border marked complete. 33.45% increased to 37.25%. This, like I said, it's my largest in terms of size because it's on 25 count and it's a super size. So this is on a handmade PVC scroll frame. Excuse me. I will link below the videos where I talk about how I made this, because people always ask. So is that upside down? That's upside down. There we go. So here's the dino section. So the 4 pages I did was this page, page 2, page 3, and here's the page I'd finished just a couple of days ago. Okay, so there's the Egyptian section. I've got 2 full and a partial page left. So my goal is 4 pages, about 25 to 28,000 stitches again. So we'll finish this row in 2028, and then we'll have to say goodbye to some of that while I scroll up, sadly, because this frame is not going to be the easiest to like undo to show you the whole thing. So probably only for WIP braids. As a color expansion, this piece has 125 colors. That is my sweet spot. I do have 1 max color chart. It's a lot of work. I've got 2 color expansions, so at 125 colors, that's about the max I want to deal with. So that is Museum Shelf. All right. Now we have another non-full coverage piece. Excuse me. I originally got it in this book, Donna Cooler's 555 Christmas Cross-Stitch Designs. However, it is also available on the Cooler Design website. You can get the PDF, which is what I did this year, and get it in a Pattern Keeper. Because Pattern Keeper now shows fractionals, but it does not really allow you to work any beads or back stitching. Of course, you got to look at the PDF for that. So there is the design. It's called Santa Sampler. Here's where I started the year. This is 28 count gingerbread by Picture This Plus. So I had about 1/3 of it done. I don't have a starting percentage because I didn't have it in Pattern Keeper before this year. So I started this piece on the 8th of August 2019. This year I put in, my goal was only 5 days, but then I came up with the idea of gridiron grind and I used it for that, and so I well exceeded that. I put 30 days of progress into this, 4,920 stitches, or the average of 164 stitches per day. It's currently at 41.95% complete. and my goal for next year is another 4,500. I don't feel like pushing myself to get this one done. It's not that enjoyable to work on. I can do the little bit each day, but I don't want to make it a focus. So get threads out of the way. I really love it on this fabric. It makes all the colors pop. This is 28 count, so it's 2/2. And so you can see everything I put in was at Old Father Christmas, and everything from here down. So those two bottom Santas still need some more. So this Santa's got some feet we got to put on them that I couldn't reach on the Q-snap. This one we've got to finish that little scene, and then I can do the back stitching. So I am still using this for Gridiron Grind to support my Detroit Lions, even though they have been eliminated from the playoffs. They have one more game on Sunday. So this will at least see progress there, and then I'll probably put it away for a few months, and we'll see when it next gets progress. I'm a little Christmased out, you know. It's New Year's Day. It's time to put Santa away. So that is Santa Sampler. All right. Next piece is Half-Blood Prince. This is a retired chart by Tilton Crafts, artwork by Daniel Kordick. There are 35 colors in this one. I hear cats being crazy. I started this one on Return to Hogwarts Day, the 1st of September 2019. This year, I met my goal of 20,000 stitches. I put in 20,654 over 30 days, or an average of 688 stitches per day. It went from 46.3% to 60% even. My goal for 2026 is another 20,000 stitches. I think it was, 4 pages? I didn't write it down there. Yeah, 4 pages. I got 4 pages done for that 20,000. But the goal was number of stitches, not the pages. So again, we'll shoot for 20,000 stitches because that will leave 40,000 stitches remaining to get done in 2027 for the finish. So here is where I started the year. So I got 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. .25 count again, 2/1 continental 10 stitch. There you go. I got threads in the way. That'll help. So we've got Tom Riddle, Professor Slughorn. This is Ginny. We've got Draco, Snape. This is Harry's head, Ron, and Hermione. So, again, a retired piece from Tilton Crafts. They do a really good job with all their charting. So that is Half-Blood Prince. And then next we go to Templar Prophecy by Long Dog Samplers. I'm making a lot of changes to this one because the sections where you see where it's stitched in reverse, where you're stitching the background instead of the primary motifs, I am trying to reverse that. So it requires a whole lot more brain power. You just can't blindly follow the pattern, and that's what has slowed me down. So hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, so I am changing this. Plus I have 3 different colors of blue in some floss that I got from a stitcher who is no longer able to stitch. So I've got 3 colors of blue. I think they're old Bucilla floss, but they're unmarked, and there's quite a few bobbins of each color. So I'm trying to figure out, what to make which color. and flip-flopping this area, and this area. And right now I'm kind of stuck because that's backstitch in the dragon, that's backstitch on the horse, but then this kind of bleeds into a reverse area right here around this flower, but it also makes up for a fourth horse up here. It's making my brain hurt. So let's talk about what I got done. It was a Friday the 13th start in September of 2019. In 2025, I only put 2,800 stitches into it over 5 days in January last year. So, excuse me, that is 560 stitches per day. It went from, I've cropped some of the border too, so that is in this percentage. 51.82% up to 56.71%. So my goal for 2026 is just get some progress. If I get time and want to figure out how I'm making those changes. This is where I started the year. And I just went up on that page. So I'm cropping out the top border and the border that's on the left side of the piece. This is 32 count Lugana and Silvery Moon. Dragon Eye Needle Minder by Crafty Emily. So there's the page I got done, is this one right here. That was the 2,800 stitches. And let me get the whole piece without falling off my stool. There you go. There's the whole thing. So you can see down here, this is the first area that I changed it from stitching the reverse instead to stitching the motif. You can kind of see all three colors of blue here. So the lightest blue is the one I have the most of, and then there's the dark blue, and then here's a medium blue. Where else I use the medium blue. It's hard, like that standard that he's holding with the swan, that's the medium blue as well. And then this is the big motif that I also changed that was in the reverse section. So I do have this on Pattern Keeper, but again, it's harder because to stitch those sections when I'm flipping around, I have to like print out a page and use a highlighter instead just so I can keep track of what I'm doing. And then because I'm making it different colors, like this piece of border with the dragon's claws, I had to figure out which was the border and which stitches should be the claws. So I really like how it's turning out. It just takes some extra work to figure it out. So that is Templar Prophecy. And that floss, whatever it is really enjoyable to work with. So it's a fun piece to work on once I know what I'm doing. Okay, what's next? Card Sharp. This is a retired chart with Haid. Artist is Omar Rayan. I believe he is now licensed with Unconventional Cross Stitch or X Stitch. I don't know if he has this piece. So it is absolutely ginormous. You can see there 625 by 800. Here is where I started the year. So I was right in the middle of the doorway. Started this piece on the 16th of June, 2020. I put 8,063 tent stitches into it this year. I got one page and one partial done to get the row finished. So that met my goal. Worked on it 13 days for an average of 620 stitches per day. It went from 10.84% complete to 12.45% complete. So it's 5 years old now and only has like 5 pages done. So we're increasing the goal by a lot. 4 pages for next year. This is 28 count. 2/1 continental 10 stitch. So we've got the row done. So essentially stitched this. It was a very small partial along with a full page for those 8,000 stitches. So I really like the detail on this. I'm looking forward to, I'm gonna come back down here and do 4 pages this way, I believe. So, and I will be working on this piece in January. So stick around, you'll get to see more. So that is Card Sharp. Let's see, 10th WIP is Odin. Odin only has 9 colors. I got him off of Etsy from Xana Cross Stitch. She now has her own website, and I have seen the pattern on there. So again, 9 colors. I started him. I like starting pieces on special days to mark special days, and this was a special day for us. So the 6th of October 2020, my ex was aircrew on B-52s. He wasn't a pilot, he was electronic warfare. And this 5th, 6th into the 7th of October 2020, he was on his longest flight, sortie, as they called them. It was 37.7 hours. So it started afternoon/evening on the 5th, all day into the 6th, and landed on the 7th. So the 6th of October 2020, he didn't step foot on the ground on the planet. He was airborne the entire time. I thought that was pretty cool way, special day to start a piece. He is Scandinavian, so Odin. And it was also the day that the Air Force published their lieutenant colonel promotion list for that year, and he was on the list. They did tell him before his flight because they knew he was going to be on the flight. So it was a real special day. And then things happened. This piece became a UFO in 2022 and 2023. Didn't touch it. Worked on it a little bit in 2024. Said, okay, I'm, kind of like Big Red Ship. I'm ready to work on this one again. This one was a lot more successful. So in 2025, I put 15,587 10 stitches into it over 36 days, or an average of 433 stitches per day. It went from 15.59% to 28.29% done. My goal for it for next year is 16.5, 16,500 stitches, because right now it is slated for a 2029 finish. As I said, it has 9 colors. 3 pages I got done. So, did I show this to you already? I don't remember. That's where I started, so I had the row finish. And it's down here. This is also 28 count 2/1 continental 10 stitch. So 1, 2, 3 pages, and I'm working on this one. So I was working on this one for the Detroit Lions for Gridiron Grind. So he'll get a little bit more progress next week for the Lions' last game. So that is Odin. Looks pretty darn good, I think, for only 9 colors. This piece has different meaning to me now, which is why I'm able to work on it, and I'm looking forward to the finish. Okay. Next is a piece I need to show you the design. Story Keep What Lies Within by Lisa Parker, charted by Hayde. We'll switch back to this one. Here's where it started the year. So I did all the black extreme cross country on this one. Then I filled in the cat's eyes, and then I filled in the top row of pages. And in 2025, I filled in the bottom row of pages, and then I started on the second to last row of pages. So, started it on 25 October 2021. Let me find where I'm at. My goal for the year was 14,010 stitches, which I well exceeded because I was having fun with my plans and changing things. Excuse me. I put in 23,105 tent stitches over 32 days, or an average of 722 stitches per day. It went from 41.66% to 66.32% complete. So, let me fix my notes here. I've got the pages clipped open in my little notebook. 25 count Lugana. This will be my 2026 finish. So, I finished this bottom row of pages. So there was one full page, and then a partial. And then because my plans changed and I didn't want to make this a focus piece where I was working on it every month for 2 weeks, in November, it was November, I started filling in the most used colors across this row of pages, just to get as many stitches in as possible so I could make it more like how I finished Sunday Delight this year, where I only had less than 30,000 stitches left. So now I've got 31,600 stitches remaining in it. I'll be able to get that done, just doing like a rotation on it once a quarter, just like I did on Sunday Delight. It won't necessarily be a page finish once a quarter because there's more than 4 pages remaining. But because I have all that black done, we'll just shoot for whatever 31 divided by 4 is. We'll shoot for that to get it done by the end of the year. So that is Story Keep What Lies Within. Okay, where I'm at. The next one is, I'll be flipping back and forth between Pattern Keeper and my pictures here. Supersize Max Color Animal Totem by Cyril Marchetti. So this is the Max Color piece I was telling you about. It has 240 colors. It takes a while to get through, but it's amazing what it looks like. So I'm stitching this one sideways, and of course I asked my daughters where they wanted me to start, and they said the horse, of course. So I started with the horse on these partial pages. I've gone up to the feather, and then this year it was the turn to go down, work on these mountains and the tip of the bison horn. So let's talk numbers. Started this piece on the 8th of November, 2021. I put in 7,146 tent stitches over 19 days, although it felt like a lot more, for an average of 376 stitches per day. It went 1%. It went from 3.11 to 4.11% complete, so I have a long way to go on this one. My goal for next year is 2 pages. Let's get a little more work into it. At that rate, it's still going to take me forever to get it done. But my supersized pieces aren't the focus right now. It's just enjoy the journey. So this is 28 count, easy count. And there's where we are. Doesn't that look awesome? As I said, stitching this one sideways. And there is the mountain with the bison horn starting. So 2 pages. There's 1 page left at the top. I'll probably do one and one. So we'll get to see a little bit of everything for 2026. So that is Animal Totem. And then next is another supersized piece. Supersize A Confabulation of Dragons by Scott Gustafson. This one I am cutting into 3 parts to make it a triptych. So, if you drew a line between the urn and the dog's tail going up the tree, that's part 1. That's what I'm working on right now. Part 2 will be coming down the tree and along the tree branch for this corner. And part 3 will be these guys in that corner, if I ever get to them. So, that is A Confabulation of Dragons. Here is where I started the year. Just working on those background dragons. Started this piece 24 November 2021. I put in, so I worked on this one in December too, so there's progress you haven't seen before. 15,532 tent stitches for the 2 pages done over 24 days, which is an average of 647 stitches per day. I have marked those other 2 sections complete, so my percentages are skewed. This is just, this is for the whole piece. 39.21% increase to 41.34% complete. My goal for 2026 is another 2 pages. It's over here. 25 count. There we go. We got to see more of this dragon. So he now has a face and most of a second wing. So those look pretty good for being like, so this is regular colors. This is just supersized regular colors. So pretty good detail for just your normal, 90 or colors or less. 85, I forgot how many specifically it has, but so we'll get to see 2 more pages on that one. Let me see how many pages I actually have left in the row. I have 2 and a third pages left in the row. So we'll see. Maybe I'll push more to get the row finished. I'm not sure. So that is Confabulation of Dragons. And then next piece is U.S. Travel Shelf by Amy Stewart, regular size, regular colors. I started this piece again to mark a special day, what I call Tuesday, 22 February 2022. Here in 2025, I put in only 5,701 10 stitches into it over 8 days, or an average of 713 stitches per day. It went from 4.14% complete to 5.56% complete. So I'm working again on the edge. They're almost full-size pages, but they are still partial. So in the goal for this year is to do another page and then a partial to get the column done. Let me show you where I started. So that's where I started the year. Then we got more into the green. Like I said, stitching this one sideways. So I got this page done. Close up to that. That is going to be Chicago. So there we go. So that is the top up there. So I just want to finish the column. So we'll have the whole column being worked on. I'm going to guess it's around 10,000 stitches, but we'll see. So that is U.S. Travel Shelf. Next is my Victorian Lady. This is by Joan Elliott. called Victorian Lady Dance Card. I started her on the last day of 2023 because, again, the numbers, when you write them out the American way, of month, day, and then year was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So makes it feel like a waltz. So for the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 sal, I started it on the 31st of December 2023. In 2025, I put in 3,535 full cross stitches over 15 days, or an average of 236 stitches per day. So I have the paper chart, but I bought the PDF from 123 Stitch, so I now have it in Pattern Keeper. It is now 46.71% complete, and I enjoy working on this one, so I'm going to shoot for a finish here in 2026. This is on 28 count Glacier by Picture This Plus. I didn't show you where I started. That's where I started from for the year. And that's where she is. So we will finish the bottom of the skirt and then work on the top of her. And I've got all the beads in Kreinik already. So that is Victorian Lady. Let's see. Next is Midnight Munchies Color Expansion. This is Randall Spangler. Color expansion that I requested from Haid. So this will be like a companion piece to Sunday Delight. 125 colors again, because that's the max I like to enjoy. And where I started the year, I had one partial page done. So the partial page at the bottom, I don't count that because it's literally just one row of stitches. But yeah, partial page here in the corner. My goal for the year was only one page. I exceeded that because, again, I was changing my long-term planning for what piece I'm going to finish when. So I got 2 pages done on it. This was my Leap Day start in 2024. I put in 18,250 tent stitches over 39 days, or an average of 468 stitches per day. It went from 2.48% complete to 13.37% complete. My goal for next year and for the next however many years is 17,500 stitches from 2026 to 2031. And then 2032 would be my focus year to get it done with like 40,000 stitches left. Because I know 40,000 stitches I can get done in a year as a focus WIP. So that's how I figured that out. I lost my place here. 25 count, easy count. So I finished this page, and this page, and then got a good start on this page. So we got a full plate of cookies, and then working on the marbles. So really fun piece to work on. I really enjoyed this. Even though it's 125 colors and a little more work, I want to keep working on it. So that is Midnight Munchies. And then I have things out of order. I do. I'm missing a starting picture. I didn't realize that. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I was looking for a starting picture, but it's going to take me longer to find it. Stained glass pumpkin. It's actually called like Halloween. I originally bought it from Sharova Creations on Etsy. She has renamed her shop to Pixels Junkies Studio. So that is Stained Glass Pumpkin. I started it on Halloween 2024. Here in 2025, I put 11,854 tent stitches into it. That was exceeding my goal of only 10,000. My goal was 10,000 stitches. Did it over 54 days, or an average of 219 stitches per day. It went from 1.87% complete to 9.28% complete. I am doing this extreme cross country, the entire piece, starting with a black. So my goal for 2026 is 15,000 stitches. It is slated for a 2033 finish. I started this one 2/1 10 stitch using DMC 310. Once I finish the black, I'm going to be switching to CXC, because I had another piece where I was trying 1/1 tent on 32 count with CXC, and I enjoy it, so we'll swap it. So I don't have a starting picture, but I use this a little bit for gridiron grind before I switch to Odin. So again, 32 count, 2/1 with DMC black. This is what I like doing extreme cross country, because as you can see, it all flows really well. I never have to count anywhere. It just goes from one section to another. So once I finish the black, I will continue with everything else. Extreme cross country for a 2033 finish. So that is Stained Glass Pumpkin. And now we'll be back on track with the pictures that I have. I only got 2 left that were pieces started in 2024. So at the end of 2024, I said, let's use our scrap pieces of fabric that you have, whether it's, gridded or not. But like this piece is maybe 5 inches wide. Obviously you can't stitch a big full coverage piece on this, but Randall Spangler has 3 bookshelf designs where you can stitch individual books. One is cats, one is dogs, and the other is dragons. So I said, pick your favorite book design, and we're going to do the Spangler Book Club Sal and stitch a book. Because if you buy the whole bookshelf, they are separated in the chart. So this is supersized Books of Dreams, and you can see there are strips, there's spaces between each book, so it makes it real easy to differentiate. You can mark all the other ones complete, so you only have whichever one you're working on. And I am working on this guy right here in the middle, Medieval History. So that's the guy I am making. So all the other ones are marked complete in my chart on Pattern Keeper. I started this one on the 30th of November 2024. I put in 7,107 tent stitches in 2025 over 13 days, an average of 547 stitches per day. Because I have everything else marked complete, it went from 91.22% complete to 92.86% complete. My goal for this year is doing another page. Yep. So let me show you where I started. So I only did a few hundred stitches on it in 2024 when I started it. And there we go. We got the first page. It's like 80, 85 stitches wide, so slightly more than a regular page. But yeah. So that is, and I've got more than enough fabric. Like I can do more than one on this piece of fabric. So that is the start of Medieval History. And if you didn't want to buy the supersize chart, you can buy the regular size chart, or there's also story keeps of each of the books as well. So pick whatever your favorite is. So that was medieval history. Next, we have, excuse me, the last piece I started in 2024. Oops. Ready for an Adventure by Sir Kai, charted by Stitches So Beautiful. I started this piece on the 1st of December 2024. I've been using it for the Stitches So Beautiful monthly sales. Not every one. I've only done like 3 or 4 of the sales now. So in 2025, I put in 19,047 stitches over 83 days. My goal was only 2 pages. I think I got done 6 pages in a partial. It's an average of 229 stitches per day. It went from 4.92% to 20.55% complete. Goal for next year, 14,200 stitches every single year up until 2030 for the finish. So let me show you where it started. So in December of 2024, I did 1 full page, and I had most of a second page. These pages are much smaller than a Hay page, but there's where I started the piece. This is 28 count, and here's where it is now. So I finished page 2, 3, 4, 5, partial over here, 6, and then 7 and 8 there. This was in December, a couple days ago. So you haven't seen this unless you were following my progress. Plus, I think I posted the pages in Full Coverage Fanatics. So I'm looking. The good thing is that this isn't a boring background. There's constant movement in it, but I am ready for some other colors. So that is Ready for an Adventure. Again, that's going to be a 2030 finish. Okay, so now we start the 2025 starts. First of which was the 2025 Hate Sale. I did Jelly World. And here's my last visual aid because I got tired of making them. Started this a year ago on the 1st of January 2025. I put in 45,313 stitches, 10 stitches over 141 days for an average of 321 stitches per day. It is currently 50.21% complete. And here in 2026, I'm going to aim for 2 more pages. So I wanted to get the 6 pages done in order to earn the rest of the charts, and I did that. Hold on a second. Okay, had to get a drink of water. There you go. There are your 6 pages done on that one. Again, this is 25 count. So I believe it's 50% done, so I've got, let me just show you. So I've got a full and partial all the way around that to do left. So we'll aim to get 2 of those pages done here in 2026. Really enjoyed working on this piece. This was my second focus piece for the year. So I worked on this one the first 2 weeks of every month. And then the second 2 weeks of every month was Kindred Spirits. So there we go. That is Jelly World. I am not doing the 2026 sale because I have other plans. Okay. I have no more visual aids. I'll be talking off the cuff. My 21st WIP is a start and a finish. This is the Extraordinary Birds sale by Lola Crow. When she announced it and showed the frame and just said Extraordinary Birds, I said, sign me up. I have to do it. I'm a bird lover. I've got a parrot. I immediately contacted Julie from Stitching at the Cabin and said, we need to do this. And she did it as well. So from the 4th of April, when the framework first came out, until I finished it on the 31st of August, 2025, we kept up on it. Talked about the birds every week. It's 19,515 stitches over 96 days, or an average of 203 stitches per day. So we got it done. I stitched this on 18 count Mirage Ada by Picture This Plus, and I love it. So that is the Extraordinary Birds Sal by Lola Crow. I did not make any changes. Look at those birds. It was really fun reading about all the birds each week and the plants. She included really good synopsis of birds and plants every week. So really enjoyed that. It was a lot of stitches in, a few months, but I'm going to sneeze again. Does anybody else get in a vicious cycle of blowing your nose and then sneezing, and then blowing your nose and then sneezing, and then blowing your nose and then sneezing? Yeah, it's fun. So this was, how many finishes? This was, if you're counting, the second finish of the WIP parade so far, although these are not in order. So that is Extraordinary Bird Sal. Then we go to the third finish. I did not have this piece because it was a gift. I have to go over here where I have a picture of it. Yellowstone bookmark. Designer is Author Embroid Design on Etsy. I bought several, 3 sets of 5 national park bookmarks, and I stitched up the Yellowstone bison bookmark. I started it 28 May and I finished it on the 31st of July. I put in 3,251 tent stitches over 16 days, or an average of 203 stitches per day. I was testing this one. So I had a piece of 32 count, easy count, and I wanted to try that 1/1 tent with CXC floss to see how I liked it. So what better to do than a tiny small bookmark rather than trying out a huge full coverage design. And then I made it into a bookmark for somebody that I know. So that is how it turned out. And they really enjoy it. So that is 32 count. I made a short video here on the channel of actually putting this in a pot and on the stove to get the lines out. So it turned out really well. And I will definitely be stitching more of those up. All right. That was the third finish that you've seen. Time for the fourth finish. Hocus Pocus book by Witchy Stitcher. I started this on the only Friday the 13th we had in 2025. So the 13th of June. Finished it on the 16th of October. It was 4,871 stitches over 16 days, or an average of 304 stitches per day. I think this is Barnwood. 28 count Lugana by Picture This Plus. When you buy this chart, there are 2 different versions. There's this one, and then one with the black flame candle on it, like on the book as well. So I stitched the one without the candle. And there you go. I really enjoyed that. I love Hocus Pocus, so that was that the 4th? 1, 2, yeah. I had 4 finishes, so now you've seen all my finishes. And let's see. Let me go to Pattern Keeper. After that, I started Supersized Regular Colors, The Library of Dogs, on 26 August 2025, which is International Dog Day. Now that I knew that I liked that 32 count 1/1 tent with CXC on the bookmark, we started it here on a gigantic piece. So my goal, I didn't really have a goal. I just wanted to, because I'm working on this one sideways, stitch down the entire side so I have my choice of where I want to work on it. And just getting used to that 1/1 tent with CXC. I put 13,000 tent stitches into it over 25 days for an average of 520 stitches per day. It is now currently at 1.82% complete. So my goal for 2026 is 15,000 tent stitches. So currently has 13. We're going to put 15,000 more in. So I started this corner and just carried whatever color I could. So there was a lot of black that I carried as far as I could and started working in other colors. There is the first dog that I found. And then in November, I wanted to see more of a scene, so I was working down there at that bottom corner. So you can see there's going to be a lamppost and a bicycle. So that is 13,000 10 stitches. Again, 32 count 1/1 tent with CXC. So a lot finer look to it and not as stiff on this one. So that's that one. Hold on. Okay, the next start was Ode to Damn Maggie Smith. Rest in peace, Professor McGonagall. This was a special piece designed by Shelley Lee of Tilton Crafts. She made this herself. I cropped around the corners and the sides. So I cropped out 16,000 stitches from this piece and then started it on Professor McGonagall's birthday, which was the 4th of October. I put in 3,402 tent stitches into it over 8 days, or an average of 425 stitches per day. My goal for 2026 is 12,600 stitches in order to get a 2031 finish. This is 28 count. So I started top center, and you can see this is where her hat's going to be. So it's just a whole bunch of grays so far. This is DMC. So good start for that one. We'll see a whole lot more progress with 12,600 stitches. It is currently showing at 15.89% complete, again because I cropped those 16,000 stitches around the edges. So that is Professor McGonagall. Okay, we got 2 more pieces, guys, and then we'll talk about some 2026 plans. A whole bunch of people started Winter Cookie Party here in December. Winter Cookie Party by Amy Stewart. I did crop this piece to 498 by 498, so you're not going to see anything from the candle over, and then there's just a few rows from the bottom cropped off. And I started in this corner up here, top left. I worked on this for as in my focus slot for the last 2 weeks of December. So I started it on the 16th of December. I wanted to get 4,000 tent stitches into it. I exceeded that because I was meeting other goals and finishing pages. I put in 5,609 tent stitches over those 12 days, or an average of 467 stitches per day. My goal for 2026 is 15,000 stitches. Because I cropped it and marked those parts complete, it's showing 30.88% complete. I was also trying out a Nurge hoop for the first time. So I was working on page 1, doing all the browns and oranges, and black, of course. So the open areas, you're going to see a few more, lighter browns, and then all the icing colors. So that is 28 count. Winter Cookie Party. 5,600 stitches. All right. my last start for 2025 was a piece to get ready for 2026. I saw this design on Etsy. It just popped up. I wasn't looking for temperature charts, but it just popped up. And I saw this and I said, I'm not really interested in keeping track of temperatures, but this piece could easily be used to keep track of the colors that you're putting into your WIPs. So I work on, a good average of 3 pieces per day. If I just picked one color to represent each day that I'm putting into my other WIPs, and then this piece, when it's done at the end of 2026, would be colors of 2026 WIPs, if you will. So it could be really interesting, whether it's the most used color that day, the most fun color of the day, the brightest, whatever you want. So I decided, like, when you look at this on Etsy, she does, I just messed it up. She does have an image of it in black as well. So I'm like, I like that. So I happen to have a really stiff piece of 14 count black Ada. And on this pattern, of course, the frames are black, and then in between are white stitches. So I'm like, well, black's not going to show up the best. So I was playing around with my dark grays. So this is DMC 413. And then I'll probably pick like 414 or 415 to go in between on the outline. Something a little lighter. So I started top center and worked my way over to find this. And then I also, like, she's got the windows like 10 stitches apart. I said, no, we're going to bring that together. So I made it 5 stitches apart. And then I don't plan on putting the months or the year. I might put the year, but definitely not the months. I'm just going to leave it as 12 windows. So I will also bring them closer together this way. So I started this on the 28th of December. I put in 523 stitches on it so far, or 131 stitches per day over those 4 days. And of course, we're going to finish it in 2026. I was stitching this in hand because it's crunchy. You can just, brace part of it on a table, and it's don't need a frame. So my goal will be to obviously fill in 1 space each day, but then keep going, because each space is roughly 25 stitches. So if I do like 100 stitches per day, so fill in 1 space and then do 75 stitches in window frame, here in about 3 months I should have all the windows done. And then I can just do one day. So we'll see how that goes. If I have a really shitty day, then I'll just fill in the color for that day. But yeah, so I got far enough ahead, I've almost got January here done, and we'll just keep working on it. So that is stained glass windows. The designer there is Zira Design Studio. I will link her below as well. Okay, those are all my WIPs. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on New Year's Day, and I have not put in a single stitch yet because I was adding up all my numbers for 2025, posting my, year-end stuff on Instagram, posting my top 9, finishing up spreadsheet for 2025, making sure 2026 spreadsheet was good to go, making sure my notebook had everything. And here's my fabric for my New Year, New Start today. This still needs to be cut to size and marked where the corners are. This is 25 count. I am going to be starting a piece that I charted myself. This is a painting by John Ward Dunsmore from 1777. Betsy Ross in the First Stars and Stripes. I'm going to show you the mock-up here. 637 by 464. There's the mock-up. So Kindred Spirits is going to be my focus piece for the second half of every month. to get those 45,000 stitches. And now that I've worked enough into What Lies Within, that's my full coverage finish for this year. I don't have to work on that every month. In 2026 is the semi-quincentennial, or the 250th anniversary of the United States. I am a very patriotic person. It has nothing to do with politics. It is everything to do with my service in the Air Force, the people I served with, the people that I met in the communities that I was living, the people that I met when I was going TDY, our history, and everything like that. So I am stitching a special piece for the semi-quincentennial. So this will be my second focus piece for the year. So this will get 40,000 stitches. Just like I put 45,000 into Jelly World, we're going to put a serious number of stitches into this one. And I'm starting in the center. So it is right here, right about here somewhere is the center. So I'll work some on George Washington's arm and make my way over to the flag and start stitching the flag, which I think is really cool. Semi-quincentennial, we're working on the first Stars and Stripes. So I have 25 count. I'm going to be putting it into the nerd tube so I can work it wherever I want to take this piece. It's not going to be on a big scroll frame. So that is going to be my start today, whenever I get around to it, because I still have to feed girls and clean up my mess over here. So January plans, I'm going to be playing, so for full coverage fanatics, I am participating in almost all the events, but only how they fit my goals and my WIPs. So I'm making my WIPs fit into the events based on what the goals are. So for Bingo Bonanza for January, I've got 3 pieces that will get me a line on bingo. So I'm going to be doing 3 squares for Betsy Ross, the piece I just showed you, a square that works with Kindred Spirits, and a square that works on Library of Dogs is another piece I'm working on. Plus I'm going to get a page on Card Sharp in January. Keep working on my windows, this piece. And then the Gridiron Grind, the last game for the Lions and their opponent. So Santa will get the opponent's points and Odin will get the Lions' points. So that is the plans for January. 2 other new starts that I have planned for the year. Again, I like starting things on specific special days. Trelawney's Library by the Cross Stitch Studio. I'm going to be starting this on Professor Trelawney's birthday, which is the 9th of March. I believe it's going to be 28 count, and I have a cone of 939, and I'm going to be stitching it Extreme Cross Country. All the 939. Which, let me tell you, how much there is. Because I have this loaded into Pattern Keeper now. 194,173 stitches of 939. Let me show you what that looks like. Oh my god, I'm so excited. So the ceiling parts are going to be boring because there's massive areas of 939. But I can always jump to someplace else on the piece. So that will be March start. And in April 23rd to be exact, I'm going to be starting St. George and the Dragon by Scott Gustafson. Because the 23rd of April is normally St. George's Day, when it doesn't conflict with Easter. Or so Google tells me. So we're going to start that on St. George's Day. The only other thing I have to show you guys after an hour and a half. It's the annual update of my Ort lamp. I got this lamp, of course it doesn't have the top piece on it. I got this lamp from Target. This is now 8 years worth of Orts. And these things are packed down. Like, these aren't just in there loose. Like, there is a lot of Orts in there. and it's the size of my hand. So 8 years worth of orts. So there you go. Thank you guys for joining me. I know there are a ton of videos right now. Everybody's WIP parades and Flossmas, if you caught up on that, and plans and everything else. So thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to seeing what everybody accomplishes in 2026. And now I need to clear snow off my driveway and feed the kids and maybe go see the horse. And I'm sure the cats want back in the room because their food, water, and litter box are right here. So thank you guys. Have a happy and stitchy 2026. Bye, guys.